Hello, hello, hello.
We on?
We are on.
Excellent. Man, what a good couple days, huh?
Yeah, I'm about ready for a nap. Yeah. It's been a long week.
I know the hunters, a lot of them lost sleep trying to solve this, but as organizers, we had our share of loss of sleep too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I have to share this story because it's great. The billboard.
Oh yeah.
The billboard was supposed to go up months ago, we thought.
Yeah, or weeks ago.
Weeks
yeah,
ago.
Yeah.
And so the night before the hunt, when it didn't go up, it was for sure gonna go up Thursday. And so we're like, okay, all right, we're sweating, but it's like they, for sure supposed to go up, and it didn't go up. And so Thursday night, Quinn and I are like reworking all these puzzles.
Do a plan B.
Yeah. And luckily we didn't have to use most of our rework. We did reorder some stuff and all that, but so we were up. I think I had one or two things I was coding after, but I mean we were up till
it was late. It was late.
I mean, late. So lots of sleep. Anyway,
we've had a lot of fun the last couple days. Super good. Outlaws Lost Treasure, second year, and we're thrilled to share with you the thoughts behind all the puzzles. Maybe you solved it a different way, but we'll tell you how we designed it to be solved.
Yeah.
And if you found a better way, great. That works too. First off, we big shout out as always to our sponsors. They make this event possible. They're in our logos behind us, kind of move back and forth. Yeah. And they make this event possible in supporting it. We have a wonderful, very small, close and closed group that helps plan this because we keep it very, very tight-lipped. We don't want anybody to have a sneak peek or anything leak. The big shout out to Leisha and Bridget, especially Bridget with the hunt, that she's on the organizing committee, the organizing group. And then Red Exit hosts and organizes. It's a really good team that puts
it's a great team. Yeah, and that's every member of our team is like, we couldn't do it without them. So huge thanks to every member of the team and every sponsor.
So we get going?
Yeah.
Let's jump into this. We're gonna go relatively quickly. You can always pause and reverse if you're like, how did that work? We do get a thrill to watch other people go through and solve them, and they actually did solve. They made it work. So congratulations to Team Newton. We just did an interview with them.
Yeah.
They had a great session, great year. I think they had maybe a couple of friends help them along the way as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
some puzzle swaps.
I think they did some sharing. But that's part of the game.
Strategy.
That's part of the thing. We did make that more difficult this year, the way we designed it. It wasn't as many swaps as last year. But congratulations to them. And they are the winners. They take home the prize money. Hey, this was, oh man, so exciting. We almost, we on all categories, we had more participation than last year.
Yep, more teams, more participants, more people participants from outside of Vernal, and a lot more zip codes.
Yeah, that's awesome to see the variety there. And it is, mostly Vernal area, Uinta Basin participants, but we want people to come from outside. They were staying in our hotels, they were eating at our restaurants and helping our local businesses.
Yeah.
There's our zip code representation that John put together.
Here's a map of all the places that people came from to do the hunt.
That's awesome. That's fun. This year, John worked hard to do a dashboard, and we won't spend too much time on it, but this is how we could tell where you were at and each of the puzzles where teams were in during the hunt. So we were checking this often. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's jump into this. So when you registered, you signed up, and then it shared with you. And some people missed that, but there was a statement that said, "Hey, go to Riverfest and pick up your packet." And I think most people figured that out eventually. And inside your packet were 7 items, and we'll go through each of them. Well, some of them we don't need to go through. There was a rules and a laws. The dinosaur license, we just threw it at the last because we felt like there needed to be at least something that didn't have to do with that. So hopefully that didn't throw you off too much.
The red herring. I heard of some people spend a lot of time on that.
But
so.
it is what it is. Like
Yeah.
you just have to figure out where the puzzles are. So this one is great. We started out with you have the Scrabble pieces and the picture of Ann Bassett. Thanks to Bridget for putting that together. And you can see the codes. It doesn't take much to. Does this show if I?
Yeah.
You have the codes down at the bottom, and then you see the basically kind of a crossword over here. So you take your letters from your bag and put them in this shape, and they were locations that Anne had been to or had hung out in. Of course, she's born in Browns Park, Daggett County, where Browns Park is now, and Vernal and Craig. So, and then you translate those cipher, and it tells you to go to Civ Citadel. And Aaron over there at Civs was great to be a sponsor.
Yeah.
You talked to him after.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they head over, and he welcomed them with a QR code where they put in their first answer.
Yeah. So then lots of people scanned that QR code, and this one was kind of funny. If you got stuck here, I hope you don't kick yourself too much over this, but when you scan the QR code, it tells you to tally the longest word. And we got a whole bunch of people messaging us saying, we're typing in the longest word and it's not working. But tally, meaning like count or score.
Sum it up. Yeah.
And so if you take the Scrabble score on each tile and you add those numbers up, then that's how you got the end.
Yeah. So hopefully we had a lot of teams do this one. I think this was the first or second largest puzzle. And it was, hopefully you had a little fun with it. And that one gave you this one. And this one was probably pretty overwhelming, the N2 puzzle, or the yellow numbers. We called it yellow numbers.
Yep. So I think a lot of people saw this and they're like, whoa, what's going on?
There was a lot of math going on, which is what I would do too if I saw something like this, see patterns and how does this fit together? But there's actually no math involved because these were found on light poles. Every light pole, any KC or Rocky Mountain Power light pole has these numbers. The top number is your entity number, and then the bottom number is the pole or facility number. So we took advantage of that. We did do a 6-hour time clue because we knew that maybe the numbers were going to just be tough. And so in your collection, which was a new feature this year, you could go in and look at what you've downloaded and how you've advanced, and that's where your icons came in. And you got a clue that came in at 6 hours, and that was fun to watch that countdown.
Yeah,
John, thanks for setting that up. I think it worked out really well.
Fun.
In fact, we're going to do more of those because I really liked it. It wasn't a hint to everybody; it was hint based on your time.
Yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah.
So if you didn't solve the yellow numbers within the 6 hours, you ended up with this puzzle, and this one is just sort of for fun. It's a lyric, very known lyric. You can see continue your journey. So it's a song by Journey. And if you look at a lot of the words in alphabetical order, you can create most of the song for Don't Stop Believing.
Yeah.
Believing.
Small town girl living in a lonely world.
And so your idea here then is alphabetically, which words are very common in the song that we don't have it in the chorus. And that is boulevard and streetlights, which we needed those. I wish there was actually Maine as well. That would be cool because they get all three of them.
Yeah.
So you put those up top. So your hint is streetlights, boulevard, and Maine, which Aggie Boulevard is the only boulevard. I'm like very confident. I'm pretty sure it's the only boulevard in the Vernal area, or Vernal at least. So even though it doesn't say Aggie, it is the only boulevard. So go out to Boulevard, Maine.
lots of people got this, once they
Yeah,
got that,
yeah, yeah.
you know, they,
So it's fun to drive by and watch five, 6, 7 teams working on this at the same time. Go out to Aggie in Maine, and then you at least know there's street lights, there's numbers. Then what do you do with it? Oh, you see your yellow numbers again. And several years ago, every other street light was removed. It was for a cost-saving measure and efficiency measure. And there's not homes or businesses right there. And so they were placed with a cap. So a letter was placed on each cap to help spell our puzzle. And this is my little schematic that I had made to make sure we did it right. And so it provides these letters, and you translate it with your numbers, which cap is in between, and you spell out Quesney. I think I'm saying that right, John.
So I think so, yeah. So you find the pole with the yellow numbers 217506, and then you find the pole with 216502, and you see what cap is in between those.
Yeah. So then you start filling it in. Of course, there are some repeats, lots of E's, and you are able to spell the Quesney tailgates here. And that is a riddle. Like, we had you enter it in, but just to make sure you had it right and to help you along. And so you type that in, and it should have led you, right, John, to two locations.
Yep. So lots of people got the Quesney.
Yeah.
It's a really unusual name, right? But also lots of people got the high school. Few people got both.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They thought of tailgate or the Quesney.
Like, where else is there to
not
tailgate?
very many combined them together.
Yeah.
That was the secret. This one is a tough one. This one
was
like on the level of difficulty on the higher end.
Yeah. The whole time we were working on this one, I'm like, oh, this is mean, but it's so cool.
Yeah, it works, but it's mean. So we did eventually give a hint on the right way in, but for those who hadn't figured it out. So if you go to the high school parking lot, we receive permission. We do not recommend you do this without permission. This is a temporary utility pay. It'll fade out in the sun within weeks. So, we got permission to put this out on the parking lot in the corner. And so you hopefully saw letters and numbers and started making sense of it. We did tell you to count to 9, just to make sure you caught all 9 of them. And there's a little map, if you will, of what you were looking for. So the first letter would be here. So you're going to go down 1, 2, 3, and it's the last name or the second word, right?
First, middle, last.
Yeah. And if there's like only 2, then it would be first and last. And then John had a great idea. Put in the word world, just to let you know that not only on the south one, you start way at the top, but just to let you know, oh, this is how it fits in. I get it.
Yep.
So hopefully you saw if you solved it, you saw all the numbers 1 through 9, and you translated that to, if you saw on top, south, east, northeast, northwest. So that translates to the panels on the doorway section. So south, east, northeast, northwest. And you know how hard it is to make words or spell things off of a monument with names? We did our best.
Yeah. I saw Quinn's.
And so you start to translate. Number 2 is second line down, first, number 1, third line down, second word, or third word. So who, second one is second line down, first word. So it is, and you do that all the way through the 9 of them, and you get who is 11 north of Joe C. Jr. Now, this is where it got really cool. We had thought of this puzzle a long time ago, several months ago, and started working through it and seeing what kind of message or riddle we could make with it. And our team member, Bridget, doing some research, found out, just so cool. I love this connection, because this is Josie and Ann Bassett and their secret key. Found out that Josie's son is actually on the Doughboy here in
Right.
Vernal.
Which is,
So
it's
we-
a World War One.
Yes,
Memorial, right?
yeah.
So he had
So
served in
we-
World War One.
Yeah, so we had to use that. Like that was
Yeah.
like, just had
Yeah.
such a coincidence.
Super cool.
So this tells you who is 11 north. I used north, it was on the north panel, but it's also up, right? 11 up from Josie.
So hopefully you pronounce it as
Josie
Josie.
Jr. So, Josie's child, who's 11 north. So if you go on this north panel, find Crawford McKnight and go up 11. I broke it here because I couldn't
Fit it on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you found Chester Lyman. So as you enter that, it was, you could enter Chester Lyman or Chester Lyman. So fun one. This is probably one of my favorites on this.
Oh, yeah.
One of the two
It was
favorites.
so cool how it worked
Yeah,
out, right?
yeah.
With Josie's son and all of that. So
Hopefully people enjoyed it and learn more about our World War I veterans. We did this in total respect for them and then honoring them. This is, just maybe bring more awareness to the sacrifices that they and their families made.
yeah. So that was all of Anne's
Yes,
puzzles.
and 3. So
then we're going back
You
to
move
the next line.
So this is another item you found in your packet. Maybe didn't mean like initially like, what? There's no puzzle here.
Right.
Go ahead and
Yep,
tell
yep.
them the meaning behind this.
Yeah, so we are moving. This flyer is real, and in that sense, we're moving to a new location here in Vernal. It's bigger, and we own instead of rent. So it's gonna be cool. We're super excited, but we set up this nifty little texting app, so that if you text memories, it auto responds back. Now, I was super sad that a percentage of our people didn't get this. It looked like some of the carriers blocked it because it was a newer number. We had the same problem kind of last year with emails,
Yeah,
but we're just getting more staff
but it wasn't
there. And
low, it's like super low.
it was,
percentage.
yeah.
Very,
Yeah.
very low.
And I think it was certain carriers or something like that,
Yeah.
but it was about 2%. So
But if they text it back in or use a different phone, then
yeah,
then it
and
worked.
unfortunately, some people didn't figure it out until way too late.
Yeah.
But
So you were sent after you texted, you were sent this link. Who gave you yet another puzzle?
yay.
And I'd mentioned now we had kind of 3 paths. We had the Ann, Josie, and Etta, and that's what we're going through it now. This
Yeah.
is Josie 1, and we just finished Ann. And you didn't really have to know that. You just kept going from puzzle to puzzle progression. We and so you should have been able to work on 3 puzzles at the same time, one in each of the paths. So this one we called Then and Now, and this was a fun play back to just old Vernal. Some may think, well, we're disadvantaged if we aren't from Vernal, maybe slightly, but I don't know that many of us from Vernal know all these anyway.
Right, I didn't. I definitely didn't.
So we're, with a little bit of research, I think you could easily catch that gap. So here's how you solve this one.
Yeah.
You'll note
Another tricky one.
You'll note we needed to put a year on it because you can't, buildings and places change often, or sometimes often. So we need to put a year to designate what it was then and what it is now. So we had to give a shout out to our red exit, right, to kick it off. And so you see dragon, and that is reference to, you have dragon,
Chinese
goat,
zodiac.
pig, horse, tiger, ox. So you go, yep, Chinese, and it's every 12 years. So if you look at the every 12 years, then you add it to the Vernal City Mayor. That one might have been a little tricky. I'm glad we had one with a very unique name. I think Guy Collett's gonna get mad at me, but I think it's Lycurgus.
Yeah, it was that.
Lycurgus.
Okay.
And he was, I believe, 4th or 5th mayor in Vernal. So hopefully that was a unique enough name. And on the Vernal City website, there is a history of the mayors with the dates. So we know that Alvin served from 62 to 73. And so the crossover is 64. So we bring 64. So we know what was in the red exit escape building that's there now in 1964. this became really critical. We put it in the laws, asked you to, or the rules, asked you to become familiar with
Found
it.
this website.
And it's actually pretty friendly, and very effective if you know how to use the years here and hit the update and the search. So for this one, I just did Main Street 60 to 67. It did come up with a number of pages, but you could sift through them really quick or very quickly. And you find very near the corner there on North Main in the first block, you have Vernal Drug Company. So if you look at the buildings, just to verify, it still looks the same. Look at those two windows and the
lines
and
across the top.
yeah, lines
Yep.
and the upper there. So we fill in Vernal Drug Company, and anything circled, you drop down to the bottom. And we follow that through. We're not going to go through all of these. You can do that if you want to go back through. A lot of people got this one too. So Vernal Drug in 1907, cool picture, by the way. I love that. Is Market on Main, and then Gibson Hotel is this one here in 59, and that is the location where Grand Valley Bank is. I didn't put bank just because I thought you could actually manipulate, go, hey, that fits in Grand Valley Bank. I didn't even have to research it. So I took the bank off, and it works. And then Gamble's, I didn't do all the pictures. That one was pretty easy to find. If you do Gamble's 1966, it comes right up. And it's Horseshoe Tattoo. And then Sprouse Jewelers, a little more difficult because I saw a date that was, or a name that was wrong on that. So maybe a little bit further searching, but it's Papa John's. So you end up with Uinton. And that may sound unfamiliar with some, let me go back. And the year, Ox and Alvin, 1973. Very key, you had to have both of those.
So this was kind of the funny one to me that I'm sure looking back, it's like, oh, how did I miss that? But we had a lot of people who put Uinton and didn't translate the number on the bottom, even after they translated all the other numbers.
Yeah.
And so, you did have to find the Ox and Alvin and get that number in. And then you had
so then you got Uinton 1973, and hopefully with a quick Google search, you may not have known that's the yearbook name of Uinta High School. So you did not have to, we made sure with all the puzzles that you could do it for free. And this was no different. There were sites that would offer you a subscription. Maybe some of you did that. You didn't need to. That Uinta County History Center site has the yearbooks. There are a lot of them, and it goes page by page. So hopefully you found that, and it's actually pretty easy to use it, and with the search function. So it could have made for some easier work anyway. Then you got this really cool equation.
Yep.
That got people wondering what in the world. So these are individuals that show up in the 1973 yearbook. Most of them seniors, but they didn't have to be. There was at least one junior in there. And they have a really cool class, by the way. Like they have some really interesting,
for sure.
like cool people. And so we had a lot to work with, and these were all either found in the yearbook. For example, Smiley, friendly smile at Bobby's dress shop, and gets her greeting cards at Ben Franklin's store were later in the yearbook as one of the sponsors. So you had to figure that out as you went through. That maybe took a little bit. And then these all were found on the internet, found online. Some of them might have been a little harder than others. But you could search who's Naples mayor, Mayor Baker. Okay, Evan Baker. Representative 68 is Representative Scott Chu. And then we did have a U.S. Olympian come from Uinta High School, and he ran in 76. That one, for some reason, was one of the harder ones. Like you'd think that would be easy, type it in, but people eventually found it. And then anyway, so there's all those. We made a really big assumption that this one sleeps with the Vernal mayor was Marquita. But we'll just leave it at that.
Which is available on the city website.
Yes. Her maiden name was on there too. Yeah, what her name is and maiden name. So here are the names of the answers to each of those. Again, we don't need to go through each of them. And so then comes a little bit of a twist. What do you do with that information, and how does that make equation?
And this is
how do
where
you get
a lot of people got
from
stuck.
that? a lot of page numbers, a lot of dates flying around. Maybe names were translated. So we'll show you one of them. And I picked my friend, Representative Scott Chu. So here's his page here. And if you carried it out, all the senior and junior pages were 5x5.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I illustrate it there. Not all of them were 5x5. In fact, I don't know that even one of them was 5x5, but you could carry it out and realize that they were 5x5 grid. So where you had to do a little bit of connection is also in your packet was a bingo card. And we tried to give you lots of pushes this direction that it connects with the Uinton 1973. July 3rd, 7-3, 7 to 3 a.m. And then 1973 in the bingo balls down here.
Yep. So
hopefully you knew that
yep.
had something to do with it.
I heard of some groups who got the 1973 from here, but still didn't connect it. Like they forgot to translate that number on bottom. And,
Yeah.
So super funny.
Maybe frustrating.
Oh, I'm sure it was frustrating.
So then
Part
you
of the fun.
check the bingo card, pull up the numbers. This is not a real card. You can tell the numbers are all messed up, but that's okay. We just grabbed one. It has the same principle. So we're gonna look at Scott's again here, or Representative Chu, and he, I always wondered why Tammy would pick Representative Chu, but he was good looking at that. So, I can see it now.
Yeah. It's fun to see everybody, their younger selves, right?
Yep. And so you notice where he's located on the page. You notice that matches with 37. And it's been a long time since Scott Chu could be associated with the numbers 37. And so you then go through all of them and find them in their location, and you assign a number to each of them. And then we did create an equation that was really clean with integers. Doesn't require you to, so hopefully that kind of gave you a hint that you were on the right path. There are no decimals, no carries. And here's the math that goes through. And this was straight math. We told you that, don't use the operators.
No order of operation.
So you end up with some add and divide that comes out clean, times, add, divide, and times. And you end up with 1196 with your math problem. You enter that and you get a good thumbs up, and you advance to this one.
Now, I think this one is like, you see this and it's like, when I first saw this, I'm like reading through, and like these aren't complete sentences, but it's also not just like total gibberish,
And I'm not sure which one triggered anyone, but I'm guessing they figured out, hey, this looks like history. This looks like something to do with history.
A lot of the people who got Josie 2 got this one. So I think there was something in here that was triggering people.
They found it. Yeah, there was a little drop off on going from 2 to 3. It's probably more time consuming than anything. So you have to figure out which monument it comes from within the Vernal area. And there are quite a few. There is a website out there. I thought initially, oh man, they're going to end up driving to La Pointe or driving to Jensen, but there is a website out there that has all of them on there, and even the text. So here's your trick. You had to locate I'll use the one from Fort Thornburg for this one, which there are 2 Fort Thornburgs, but this one, you had to make sure you got the right one. So you'll note, and hopefully you notice them very quickly, that some of the words or numbers were changed. And that's what you were looking for. Kind of like that game where you do the comparison and find the difference. You were finding the difference and marking the difference. So we have this in process here. Here's the clue. Here's your monument in that section. And here are the words that are different from the monument. So instead of located, it's relocate. Instead of north, it's south. Instead of this, I threw in a number 2333. Instead of summer, I put yards. So you total that, and you get relocate south 2333 yards. And you repeat that the 6 times. We're not going to go through each every one of them.
At every one of the panels.
John had a good idea. Whenever we could, we had people enter their answer just so they knew that it was correct and they could move on with the riddle. And I like that. I think that helps people feel comfortable and confident and give a little bit of success. Like, yeah, we got it. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
So you enter that and it might have told you you're wrong. You go back and look at it and, oh, here's where we were off. And you finally hopefully get that. So it ends up saying go to where 22, 15, 12 converge, then relocate south 2333 yards, move west 4096 feet, and then find the 6 impressions. And I'm guessing these 3 numbers are like totally ingrained in hundreds of people's heads, and they don't like that sequence anymore.
Yeah.
Why in the world?
What
Where does
is
22,
that?
15, and 12? Some people it clicked. Some people went through this puzzle really quick, and others it just never connected. And I get it. This one's hard. This is kind of a needle in a haystack. Like, why would these numbers be there? A lot of them found because it was monument based before. I didn't even think of this. They went to monuments, and there are numbered monuments. So
Yeah.
I know Fort Thornburg, I think, was one of these numbers. So smart thinking, but it wasn't for this one. We did end up giving some clues on this. The 22, 15, and 12 end up being the location of 3 precincts in the Vernal area. And these are Uintah County precincts for voting purposes and districting purposes. And you could have found this on the school district website, the county website, or the city website. All 3 of them had the precincts outlined. And this particular one is very north edge of Vernal City on Vernal Avenue, just outside the apartments on Ashley Creek, or the condos on Ashley Creek. Hopefully you found it.
Yeah.
We did end up with a couple clues. We threw out one about 20 and 68, and that was the Senate District 20 and Scott Shoe's 68 House District.
The district.
And then we ended up doing another one with a date of the new election this fall.
Yeah.
So we put out one that said November 21st.
Yeah. Like, what does this have to do with election day?
So hopefully that triggered enough. And there were a lot of people that found it after that.
Yeah.
So you do your 2333 yards south. I just had to throw in a mix, and that takes you right to the center of town. And you go 4,096 feet to T-Rex.
Yeah.
The newly made over T-Rex was a great community project.
Refinished,
I think it's kind of fun to highlight that, right?
Yeah,
As part of that.
it is.
And you get to meet T-Rex with his new coat.
Yeah.
Exterior, I guess that's a better word. And to commemorate all that great community participation, there is a plaque, and I was able to sneak on to that plaque. 6, and it'll be forever on there, I guess.
Yeah.
So these are individuals who donated to that, the GoFundMe to help fund, and it's awesome. Like, this just speaks volumes about our community. Isn't it so great? And also on that plaque, find the 6 impressions, and there's 6 dinosaur footprints in there. So you find all 6 of them. Here's one of them I highlighted and brought it out, that one right in the middle. And it ends up having some random letters, but we hunted and made sure that it'd be really hard to spell anything else but president at birth. And then the question then is,
whose birth?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And maybe which president, but we meant United States president.
Right. Yeah.
Right next to the donation plaque is a little bit of history about T-Rex and George Millicum, who created it. And he birthed the dinosaur, created T-Rex in 1969. So it's referring to the dinosaur. You might have tried Josie, it wouldn't have worked. Might have tried Ann, wouldn't have worked. You could try, and then you go to 69, Richard Nixon. I think we accepted Nixon as well.
Yeah.
Hey, now on to Etta. We kind of 2/3 the way through here,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Hopefully people are keeping up.
Yeah, there's probably some people at this point who are just like, how on earth?
How did
these
people
words?
solve these?
But then a lot of, I mean, there were quite a few of you who made it through all
Yeah,
this.
yeah. What one thing is as puzzle designers,
And we have numbers at the end.
when we do when you do Outlaws, you know, we can only do so much before the hunt because you don't want anyone to know and already know the things. And so we tested amongst ourselves and our little group, but until you put it out, you don't know. And so every time someone solves it, especially without a clue, we're like, yes, it worked.
Yeah,
It was logical enough. At least one team found it.
Yeah,
it's fun. So this one is the Riverfest schedule, which is an awesome event. Great committee that organizes that. So fun, live music, and we have the paddle pond and the art, and just super cool event.
Super cool.
And that we picked this weekend to kind of correlate with that.
Yeah.
This year we wanted to do more in the park, and so this was a fun one. I like this one. Just to get you started. And so you have this little sequence here on the back of the schedule, and most people picked up pretty quick that, hey, these are symbols around here in the park, especially bathroom and information. And so they started connecting dots and finding where they were. And as you go around and look at each of these locations, of course, you have the paddle pond, info center, bathroom, the dining, and that's repeated. That was a little tricky, but we thought people would get that.
There's a few people who got stuck on that, right? Like, oh,
there's one without a dot. I guess I probably should have moved this dot outside here, but then I wanted them to know that that was an abbreviation.
Right.
This is a library. That one was a little tricky because it was a number instead of word. So that threw some people off. This one looks like cheese grater. It's not. It's the Plinko board. And once when you see it, you're like, oh, of course. And so they're on the back of the Plinko board was one. This one is the Scout House. Maybe somebody from out of town would have known that, but it's in that complex and eventually found it. And then the crosswalk, the Major Hawk across Highway 40. That one was sneaky, but it was there and behind the push button. And then the stage, that one is pretty easy. Okay. So then what? How do you translate that, right? We ended up giving a clue that the squiggly arrows mean water, think water. That's why they are squiggly. And we ended up giving a clue that the straight line's on land, or even better yet, hiking. So the way to solve this, and it's a tough one.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be, now that I look back on it, is a little hard. So Green River and upstream from Green River, a tributary of Green River is Ashley Creek. Then you go upstream to Dry Fork Creek, so tributary, flow it back down through, and then you follow Dry Fork Creek up until come out of the water and to Flume Trail. Now, some people stopped at Fort Thornburg. What a great idea, right? But Fort Thornburg would have been back here. Dry Fork Creek combines with Ashley Springs there north of Remember the Main. So you weren't quite high enough to get Dry Fork. This one worked well for almost all of it. There was about a 2-hour period, and I don't know what happened. I don't know that it was really sabotage, because if it was, they would have taken it all together. But someone had taken a zip tie and kind of moved it to where you couldn't see it. And so sorry, we fixed it immediately the moment we knew it. We encouraged people to go back up and maybe even give it a little hint because they had gone so much work.
Yeah.
The other challenge, and I'll show it on the map. Oh, I even had a slide to show H2O, Dry Fork. Actually, forgot to put that in. The other item. So I know Flume Trail can be accessed. We know that from multiple spots.
Right.
The main trailhead is almost, I think, all shows up on Google all up in the way in Massey, but that's beyond the 20 miles. So in my mind, and we should have done something to hint to this. It's the first stop, right? Still on the pavement, first parking lot, that kiosk, and the bridge. Hopefully people tried that 16.7 miles.
Right.
I think I would have, because I'm lazy and I tried there first. And so you park there, you come across the bridge, and we physically measured the span. Span equals bridge. And we didn't want to just come right out and say bridge. Again, people just check for bridges. And so we took a tape measure and went 51 feet. And it's this pretty prominent tree right here on the edge of the curve coming off the bridge, and up in the 8-foot high nook, if you will. We zip tied a QR code that you scan. And luckily I didn't know what would happen if you don't have coverage with QR code, but I know on my phone it captured it. And then when you got in service, then it got it. Or you could take a picture. We even put on there, take a picture. So I hope people had fun with this one. I know there was some frustration. A lot of people went higher, went to 2 or 3 different places, and just didn't catch this one. Maybe it's always a balance. You can't show it too visible because it might get cheap. People vandalize it.
Yeah. Well, and then as soon as we put out that it had been moved or obscured once, everybody's like, I shouldn't, like, it's probably gone. And so then they didn't want to look around.
Yeah, that was a real unfortunate thing. We hate when that happens. Oh, and then when you solve that one and you were asked how many feet, 51 from the span, you got a full load of ETA 2, right? And ETA 1 was big chew, like, because that took you all the way from Riverfest to the Flume Trail.
Yeah. So lots of groups saw this and they were like, what on earth do we do, right? So this one is a perspective puzzle. And so hopefully, and I know a lot of people started to get clued in here on 17 is Dress for Less. And so lots of teams went up to Ross and started like looking around in Ross, but what you needed to do was look around out of Ross. And again, this was a hard one. But if you go on kind of across the parking lot, there is a bus stop number 17.
Yep, it's this one here. We did end up giving this as a clue.
Yeah, so we put this picture out. Hopefully, and this was my favorite, is everybody's like, oh, we already knew that one, like Dress for Less, like we already know that. But hopefully what you noticed is that we have the corner of the bench here as well. And so hopefully like, why would they take a picture of it from like behind this, like whatever this red thing is, right? And if you go and you look from that perspective, you see this picture, you see the number 17 on the board, and hopefully that could kind of start you looking, oh, if this is number 17, this is Ross.
Some other numbers, right?
These other numbers.
And then eventually you hopefully found the BTA, our local Basin Transit website, and it lists all the stops and a map, and you can map it out and go split up your team or whatever and go find the different locations. So when you go back to go ahead and
the list. So all of these things are like you see these little riddles and it's like, what on earth does it mean? But most of them are pretty obvious once you're there. So I'd be interested to hear everybody's experiences, but it seemed like everybody got it once they found out it was bus stops, right? And some of them were a little
and with the way you programmed it, I think that helped a lot, because there's 12 and we would let you know if you had 9 to 12, 10 to 12. So you could even play with that, right? And drop one and see if it goes up or down.
Figure out which ones you had right and all of that. So
here are all the answers. The one at the hospital between R&E was both on emergency and surgery, by the way, as is the G. And then at Colton Pavilion across the street is Little Peeps daycare. And then this one,
if you're standing at this bus stop and you look at the signs, you can see there's the Mort's Car Wash dinosaur on the sign, and then just past that is Taco Bell, and on the other side of that is the Sloppy Pig. And so if you kind of line up like the dinosaur and the pig just by standing at that bench, they kind of line up. Right there in between is the Taco Bell sign.
People got it. Maybe other people still are figuring that one out. That was one of the tougher ones. Then right on the side of Famous Footwear, if you sat in the bench and look forward, there's a red shed that had a brand on it. The R was backwards, but sometimes that's the way brands do it. So RHW.
And on number 12, there's crossings, like crosswalks. And if you look beyond those, there's a stop limit sign.
Speed limit.
The speed limit, stop limit. The speed limit sign, and the speed limit there is 25. So
Then 13's at UB Tech, and then there's a flagpole with a quote around it. So you had to walk around until you got the second demand, which is
Yep.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Then I think everybody got Ross probably even before
Right.
they knew what the puzzle was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then this one just was a kind of a random, make sure you knew where you were at. This was by the Care Center, 5th South, 5th West. And there's just a very bright purple door. So
Yeah. Yeah. So
there's 2 doors in front of you and one was purple.
maybe somebody owned that house and got that one really easy.
Hopefully nobody knocked on it.
Yeah.
And then this is there at Oak House and Little Bees on Vernal Avenue with one of the stops. And green is the 65. So over on Little Bees, green wall 65, and behind you, white wall 90. People got it. So maybe a little bit of trickery. And then this is the rec center.
This is another one you had to walk around
motto,
to see the front of their sign where it says fun comes naturally.
And then Tri-County, that one is probably one of the easier ones. The middle of the county is Duchesne. And then there's a totem pole by the one behind by the library. And between the 4 legs and the 2 legs is an eagle in the middle. So kind of fun. Good perspective. Oh, hopefully you had fun driving around and figuring them out as a riddle, almost each individual riddles. But a lot of teams got this one. That was good. That gave you out of 3, the last puzzle before the grand finale, the final.
Yeah.
This one is a little hard, kind of getting a little needle in the haystack because you had to have recognized the quote box. And for many years, there's been a dinosaur quote box out there, but it changed yesterday, like we started talking about.
After the hunt began,
nervously about
like 1 o'clock or something yesterday, right?
So we did give the hint at one point to show the quote box coming out of the dinosaur. I think that ended up helping.
Yeah.
And then, so here's what the billboard looks like today. And it's, we're glad you saw us, come again soon. And then where fun never goes extinct. I tried to do those in orange letters on blue and they just couldn't read it. So I had to outline it in orange. Hopefully that didn't throw anybody too far off. But if you lay these over those spots, then you see numbers underneath of them and you go in sequence. You saw that before. So you start with I, then number 2 is an N. So you spell that out. In life, OC, but 7 skipped, 12 skipped. And so you have all of it, but 2 letters, and it just fits that or hopefully you deducted pretty quick that was
Josie poached.
Yeah. So in life, Josie poached deer to save this amount. And this is a little quiz riddle that does have 2 ways of solving it. And this one might have been tough because I searched internet up and down, and there were 2 ways to get it. One is to go visit the History Center Museum. There's a display about Josie, and it was in the display. So if you you bonus if you went there and found that one. The other way was a little bit of play. There's a reason we did in life. She was in a Life magazine in January of 48. So in life, Josie poached deer to save this amount. And in one of the photo captions, it talks about Josie and her poaching. And so it says, although a hunting license would cost her only 10 cents, she never bothers to apply for one.
Yeah.
So the answer is
10 cents.
And you saw that in the mask.
You could find this in Google.
It was a little bit hard, but yeah, you could eventually find the Life magazine for sure. But I don't know that you could just Google.
Yeah.
Did you?
No, not just this sentence, but you could start.
Yeah. It took a little bit of research or realize that it was a play on the magazine.
Yeah.
So that was the last puzzle, like the 10 that you were working through. And we had a lot of teams get to 8, a lot of teams get to 9. We'll share that in a minute. And then we had 11 or 12 solve all 10 of them, which, wow, impressive, so awesome. A lot of them were solved before they even got hints, which is amazing.
Right, yeah.
Like, wow. So now the grand finale, the grand puzzle at the end. How do you get to the treasure? And this one we had a little bit of fun with. These are locations in Vernal, maybe a slight advantage if you're from Vernal, but within a few minutes, you could have found all these. So here's back to the main riddle that you got in your collection right from the very beginning. With all 10 symbols you have seen, symbols and icons are synonymous here. Use the icons to add to lucky 13. Be precise as you. It says explore. That was an old one.
This is an old
did
riddle.
change
Yeah,
this
yeah,
one.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I
yeah,
just
So this one is
this
as
is
you
my bad,
chart,
'cause
as you
yeah.
chart or as you map.
as you
As
be
you
precise as you plot.
as
While
as you
plotting,
as you
something
be
plotting.
precise while plotting.
Pinpoint,
Yes.
and we changed that to base. We thought this one was too easy, but now maybe it wasn't. At base or the opening, meaning front door. And then you're almost done, connect the dots, find golden key where X marks the spots. There's a reason why that's plural. So hopefully you start recognizing these are locations in the Vernal area. Dinah should have been pretty easy. You did not need to go there, just assign her a 12 on a map. The Aggie Bowl right in the middle, Aggie in Maine. This is not Utah State. We didn't do like Aggie for a reason. This is the actual bowl at 2. That might have thrown a little off. The new Titan, UB Tech Titan Discovery. Oh, we have them in here.
Yeah.
Why am I doing it from memory?
And then I know the Fox threw some people off, but hopefully you got that it's like the only ones that aren't like drawn out are mascots, right?
Yeah.
Some people have gotten the Fox
Oh,
the radio station, yeah.
98.5. Oh.
But hopefully you kind of picked up on the
I didn't
theme with
even think
most of
about
these
that.
schools.
And then Terra Tiger, Ashley Elementary, Oilers, where they play, Vernal Oilers hockey team. UMS Mustang.
You went to middle school.
Yep. I put you at UHS here. That's this Vernal Middle School. I misspelled these.
On the
my fault. This
Vernal
was
Middle School.
this was 10 minutes before we started.
Yeah.
VMS,
And we're tired.
UMS,
we already talked about that.
Hawks, and then equals out. My error there. So this is how you solve this one. And again, I think only about 12 of you got to this point. It's a really cool puzzle. Those of you who didn't watch this, and hopefully you would agree. So this is how you solve this one. You're adding to 13. So you take the icons that you have, and if you'll notice, you're missing 4 and 6. You cannot connect 7 or 9, 7 or 9, because you don't have a 4 or a 6. So you use the other 8 and you plot them. I use Google Earth, but you could try to do it on Google Maps. And so you're going to plot the 10 at the opening, the front door, and Naples 3. So they connect. You draw a line, and I use Peach in this case. Discovery Fox 1 and Dinah 12. So that's the 13, and it lands you right at very, very close in the street, but it is actually in the Swain's parking lot. But if you go there, and that was private property, so across the street, not in private property, is a sign 6. Hopefully you see that before you start searching the field, although people are searching the field. But there's this big sign that says 6, and that is your location for 6. That becomes your new point of 6. It's not at a building, not at a facility. And you do the same thing with the other 4 that you have pairs for. 2, full, 11, you went to middle, and that's 13, 8 and 5. And so it actually draws really close to the bull because you have a vertical here, UB Tech and Terra. So there was a number 4 there. And I think a lot of people may have saw that 4.
Because it's right where we did the street lights.
Yeah. Like, what's the 4?
Yeah.
But you catch the 4 there. So now you have the last 4 points to combine. 4 goes with 9, 7 goes with 6. And where they meet is this is the real X marks the spot.
Right. So this is the spot 3 of 3.
Yeah. So if you did it close to the way I did, I went really precise on Google Earth. It landed right at the playground in Independence Park. And if we spent a lot of hours trying to find all those points and iterations of how you can get them to land on public property 3 times, so that we got it to work. Independence Park, great. The new pickleball courts are there, in town, place to hide a key. So we said it's within 200 feet. I think this one ended up being just over 100 feet. And it was located, you see this little dot John put on there?
Yep.
Right on the north of the turf farm. There's not very many places you could hide something, a key magnetic holder that it's magnetic. So we ended up hiding it, so nobody hopefully would have found it before then, up in the corner of the door along the up on turf farm. The new pickleball courts are just a few feet away right there.
Yeah.
And congratulations to Team Newton. They were the ones, they were actually out there for about an hour. They figured they went quick. They were not the first ones to solve all the puzzles. In fact, they were long, like way into it, but they had remembered the number 4 and they knew they were missing the 4 to go with the 9, and it just clicked for them. So they were able to get there pretty quick, hunt the park multiple times. They redrew their maps multiple times, and they finally realized they must be at the right spot. And finally, panically, found it before the other teams arrived.
Yeah.
It was
Or as
close.
other teams
Very,
were
very
finding.
close.
I
Yeah.
think there were
Yep.
a couple other teams there who saw them find it,
Yep.
right?
So fun. That one, I don't know. I kind of expected that to be a medium difficulty, but I think it ended up being a hard difficulty.
Yeah, a good finale. Good finale.
We have to earn it, right?
Yep,
We have to earn
yep.
it. So we thought we'd give you a summary. A lot of teams. It was a great fun, and hopefully you enjoyed it as well. Look at these numbers, though. The people that completed these puzzles and the teams. So fun to see this. So here's Ann 1, 2, 3, Josie 1, 2, 3, 4 with their description of what they are, and Etta 1, 2, 3. And yes, it does decline as you go further along because they were getting more difficult, and you just have one more Nolan Ryan pitch after another, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, great numbers. Some of these later ones were hard, and they picked up a lot after we gave the clues on both of those.
Yep.
And here is similar. Last year we did a kind of a summary. If you solved one of the puzzles, you were in the top 52%. Good job. Great.
Yeah.
And then if you go down to, if you solve 2, if you solve 3, if you solve 4, all the way to number 10. So there were 11 that solved 10. So if you solved all 10, you were in the 2%. If you solved 9, you were in the 5%, and then go down. And that's impressive. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and I just have to point out how close this race was.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, I loved watching all through the day yesterday. I'm watching, this team's ahead. Oh, now this team's ahead, and they're flip-flopping. There's no clear winner. And then even today,
we had a team start today, and I don't know who they were incredible because they crunched all the way through the puzzles in one day.
Yeah.
That was impressive.
Yeah, super cool. Love to see it.
I said, well, they started late. They started late. They started in the afternoon yesterday. Sorry about that. But it was impressive. They have a late start, and they cranked and caught up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks again. This has been marvelous. We loved it. We gonna have any questions, or are we gonna finish off here? I'm just going to the beginning again with our sponsors.
I think we just picked up. It's not showing me if we're having questions. It's not showing me them on our little live broadcast screen. So
let's show our sponsors again. Give them a big shout out. They made this possible. Give them a thanks.
Yeah. I just think that's super important, because I like, so I own Red Exit Escapes, and we had I brought this idea to Quinn a couple of years ago, and we put together this awesome team. We ran with it. But most of these are people who are just betting on the success of our community, right?
Yeah.
And they're just betting that it's good for them and their businesses when our community does well. And so they want to support this event just because, and for no other reason than the fact that it's good for our community. And I just love that. And so I just really encourage everybody. I know I said this if you've watched some of our other videos, but I just really encourage everybody to go out, support these businesses. If there's ones on here that you don't know, like take the chance to get to know about them and the services they offer. And just if you know anybody in these businesses, say thank you for them supporting what I think is a really cool community event. I have loved walking around downtown, seeing everybody with their yellow bags.
Numbers again, just so fun to,
yeah.
And people make connections. We were talking to a team from Denver, and they made new friends on the process. Like, it was super cool.
Talked to several teams who said they're going to come back and just explore Vernal some more in between now and next year, so they're ready for next year.
And they were eating in our restaurants, and they were in the hotels. Like, it was good for a local economy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a wrap up.
I think that's a good wrap up. So thanks everybody again. Hope
you had as much fun as we did putting it on.
We don't know that we have it in our brains to do this very many more times, but we want to do at least one more year.
Yeah. How do you keep coming up with things for riddle material, right?
We're gonna see.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Good night.